Hey YouTube, we are back again this week for another video portion of the Daly Dose Sports Podcast. Hope everyone out there is doing well. Hope you're all staying healthy. Hope you are all doing well as we start this new year, 2021. I know we're just like 2 weeks in or whatever, but I hope your new year is off to a good start. We are actually discussing the crazy start to the new year that we have seen here, at least in the United States. And of course, do not forget, next Monday is actually a holiday. We need to talk about that as well. We haven't actually started the show yet, so let's go ahead and do that right now. Wednesday, January 13th, 2021, you are listening to the Daly Dose Sports Podcast, and I am your host, Clint Daly, coming to you from the Mile High City here in Denver, Colorado, and we are back for another week of talking sports with a dose of common sense. Hey, happy Wednesday to you. Hope your week is going well. I hope that you and your family and your friends are all out there staying healthy physically as well as mentally. I know that's a struggle right now. We are happy to have you here with us today. Let me just ask you a question right off the top. How's your new year going so far? Because honestly, I know it's January 13th, but isn't it kind of feeling like it's more like December 44th, 2020? I mean, it was a wild week last week, at least here in the U.S. People are mad here in the States. I mean, one side is yelling, "You never listen to us. Everything you do is against us." And then the other side is yelling, "You never listen to us. Everything you do is against us." I've got a quote here, and I'm going to read it to you real quick. I want you to see what you think about this quote. Are you ready? People fail to get along because they fear each other. They fear each other because they don't know each other. They don't know each other because they have not communicated with each other. It's kind of interesting, isn't it? Kind of a random quote there. A little bit interesting. Kind of sheds a little light maybe on what's going on. You know, all summer we have seen crazy violence as it led up to the election here in the United States in November. We saw idiots starting riots and looting and shooting people and burning things down. And then last week, we saw some other idiots break in and storm our Capitol in Washington, D.C. And with those things all taking place in mind, I've got one more quote for you here. Here's another quote for you I want you to think about. Violence as a way of achieving racial justice is both impractical and immoral. I am not unmindful of the fact that violence often brings about momentary results. Nations have frequently won their independence in battle. But in spite of temporary victories, violence never brings permanent peace. Again, kind of an interesting quote, just throwing that out to you, something to kind of spin around in your mind. Of course, both of those quotes that I have read this week are from one Martin Luther King Jr. And don't forget, this next Monday will be Martin Luther King Day. And I personally cannot remember a time when we needed to sit back and reflect on some of these quotes more than right now. Now, every week, we do the Daly Dose Sports Podcast, and we don't get all political. We just talk sports. And we tell you, we try to bring some common sense to that world of sports, and it's desperately needed. Sometimes our sports people don't do a great job of covering sports. We try to bring a little rationale to the world that we live in. And I'll be honest, it's not very easy right now. There is so much stupidity and so much just spite and hatefulness right now in this country that it's literally really hard to make any sense of it whatsoever. But here's a question for you, Daly Dose listener. When in the world did we all become so political? Like, I went to school with people who literally had no idea who was even running for president. And now they are shouting on social media about runoff elections and blue shifts. Like, when did you get all politicized? In high school, you were talking about your favorite Backstreet Boy. Now you're an expert on identity politics? Not sure when that big change took place, but I don't remember it. I mean, I actually took political science classes in college. I don't ever post about politics. You were busy smashing beer cans on your forehead in college, and now you're telling us how to vote? It's a little odd, I guess is what I'm saying. You know, when I first started coaching, I was sitting on the bench, and I'm just a volunteer assistant for a high school team, okay? And one of the coaches that I was assisting took me aside before our first game, and he told me this. It was really good advice. He said, don't be a cheerleader. You are not a cheerleader. There's nothing wrong with cheerleading, but that's not your job. Your job on this bench is to analyze, identify shortcomings, come up with solutions to fix those shortcomings. What strengths does our team have? What weaknesses do we have? Find those, and don't just find them. Analyze how we can use them, how they can help us, how they can hurt us. What can we do to solve this problem? Don't just be a cheerleader. We have cheerleaders. They'll be down on the baseline. They'll be cheering. That's not your job. Your job is to be a coach. And it was really good advice for a young coach like myself. It was good advice as I developed into a scout against future opponents, because I couldn't just cheer at how I wanted a game to go. I had to look at it objectively and say, okay, but how is this going to go? What's it going to be like when we face this team? Because how I'm cheering or how I'm hoping a game goes doesn't really matter. It was good advice as I became a head coach, and I had to look at things again objectively. It was good advice for me to follow as I started getting into sports media, and even now, doing this podcast, because I can't be a cheerleader. That's not my job. I analyze. I look for strengths. I look for weaknesses. I look for problems. And more importantly, I look for solutions. Now, the reason I bring this up is that for those people that are on social media and they're posting all their politics and they're suddenly these great experts on politics, if you cheered for what happened this past week, but you were condemning the rioting over the summer, you might just be a cheerleader. If you said that the violence over the summer was a noble cause, but the actions in DC this past week were unjust and should be met with really harsh punishment, again, you might just be a cheerleader. No analyzing, no solutions, you're just cheering. Like Martin Luther King said, violence as a way of achieving racial justice is both impractical and immoral. No matter which side we are on, I think we need people in this country to stop cheering for this side or that side and realizing, like it or not, we are all on the same side. We need to start coming up with solutions. Just kind of something to keep in mind on Martin Luther King Day that is coming up this Monday. Hey, if you'd like to contact the show, maybe tell us your solutions for fixing the mess that we have in this country. Believe me, I am all ears. We would love to hear from you. Hit us up on email, dalydosports@gmail.com, or go find us over on Facebook or Twitter. Both of those handles are at dalydosports. Maybe you're bored. Maybe you want to talk sports. Maybe you need a little advice. Please feel free to drop us a line. Give us what you have. Also, you can always find the Daly Dose at dalydosports.wordpress.com. If you're not sure where to find the podcast or the YouTube video or even some Daly Dose gear, make sure you stop by over there. And I know holiday shopping is now over. I'm going to put something in your mind. It's going to hurt a little bit. Kids, Valentine's Day is coming. And what better way to show the person in your life that you love than by getting them some Daly Dose gear. Head over to tpublic.com. Pick up the Daly Dose gear that you need. The great thing about ordering from tpublic.com, if you're ordering some clothing, if you're ordering hoodies, sweatshirts, t-shirts, you can order them in a few different designs and you can pick whatever color it is that you want. Maybe you've got a favorite team and you want some gear in that color. We've got Daly Dose gear over there in whatever color that you want. We've got a couple of new logos over there. Our Daly Dose football and Daly Dose basketball designs are available at tpublic.com. Make sure that you stop by and pick up the gear that you need in your life. Okay, YouTube, I know we didn't really get into much sports this week, but trust me on this, you need to go make sure you check out the rest of the podcast because this week on the show, we are recapping those NFL playoffs. It was a really fun weekend in the NFL. We're actually taking a quick look at what could be coming next for the NFL. Plus, the college football season is now over. We talk a little bit about the national championship game, and we hand out some season-end awards. Plus, we do have a Daly Dose Top 5 for you, and we're looking at why we like college football so much. Let's say we've got a few unorthodox reasons for you. So be sure you go check out the full podcast this week. Hope everyone out there is doing well. Hope you're all staying healthy. Hope you're all staying sane in this crazy time. I will see you all next Wednesday. Have a great week.